uh, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? The goats. So many beloved comedians, though. You know what I'm saying? So beloved, down to earth people. You know what I mean? Uh, but this man, internet's most hated comedian. Like, bro, I keep fucking up my intros because I keep blocking them. Okay, internet's most hated comedian. I wonder what the hell this nigga did to make this so mad. Let's find out. We recording? Okay.
Most people know him from his many appearances on the Joe Rogan Experience. Some know him from his time as a professional MMA fighter. He also played professional football and created the Fighter and the Kid podcast with Brian Callen. Brendan also holds a record, previously held by himself, for the worst reviewed stand-up special of all time.
Oh, my bad, Mr. Whole Foods, my bad.
I mean, it sounded like people were laughing.
The Fighter and the Kid podcast has proved to be one of his biggest successes, but also the root of his ongoing drama with the comedy world. The Fighter and the Kid subreddit has become somewhat of an anti-Shab message board, displaying his every slip-up, mistake, and wrongdoing. Instead of taking this mockery in stride, Brendan has attempted to scrub the internet of all negative opinions.
Be gone, thought!
He's hit
I remember when that meme was going viral. Was it even called a meme when it first came out? It was probably called a Vine or something. I don't know. Be gone, thought! That shit was, I don't know.
channels and individuals.
I found that
with
funny, I'm
copyright
sorry.
Strikes, lawsuits, and even direct threats.
There's an absolutely awful
Damn, bro, this nigga was like, bro, damn, you was trying to sue niggas for literally having a critical opinion of you? Bitch made. Bitch made. Pussy.
comedian named Brendan Schaub, who is currently suing a small YouTuber over jokes they made about him.
Over some
Also
jokes.
noting
Come
that
on,
YouTuber
man.
lost-
If you're not ready for this social media shit, or not even social media shit, well, I mean, you know, if you blew up, obviously you gotta be prepared for the social media shit. But nigga, if you trying to do something as like a fucking like stand-up comedian, bro, you gotta have thick skin. You know what I'm saying? Like what Mama Medea said, you gotta be, you feel me? I'm thick-skinned. You know what I mean? You gotta have thick skin, bro. You gotta be able to be tough. You gotta be able to roll with the punches. You know what I'm saying? And another thing, you gotta be able to shoot back. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody do a funny joke, you gotta be able to, you know, hit him back. Counterpunch, blah. You know what I mean? Whop, boom. You feel me? You gotta be able to do those. You gotta be able to like learn that, bro. That's a skill.
Lost both of their channels, perhaps because of Schaub, though that's still alleged.
At first, Brendan had nothing to hide. He was just another internet personality getting made fun of online. It wasn't until actual damning allegations came out that Brendan started taking matters into his own hands. He's been accused of hitting on a number of women, specifically in the comedy world, as a married man. Instead of admitting his wrongdoings, Brendan consistently denies all negative allegations. He doesn't hold back in trying to clear his public image. Zero accountability, zero honesty, and zero remorse for the people he's thrown under the bus. To Brendan's credit, he's more than willing to talk about the drama he's involved in. However, he never directly apologizes for the initial allegation. He ducks questions, points fingers, and contests accusations constantly. But Brendan Schaub's career shouldn't be limited to petty internet beef. There's more to the story than what you may have seen online. Brendan was an accomplished MMA fighter and a significant figure in the ever-expanding comedy podcast world. Like the rest of us, he's not perfect. While he certainly should have handled certain situations differently, he deserves to have his story heard. This is the life and career of Brendan Peter Schaub, and believe me, it's a wild ride. Welcome to the Steven Strangles channel. If you enjoy liking, subscribing, and turning on post notifications. Now, I don't want to slow the process down. Let's get back into Brendan Schaub.
Well, he just reminded me, you know, I'm gonna remind y'all too. Like and subscribe to the damn video. Facts, okay.
Brendan was an athletic kid from a young age. In high school,
Colorado.
he played both lacrosse and football at the varsity level, but didn't receive much attention from college recruiters. He was solid at football, but excellent at lacrosse. He won MVP his senior year and was named to the Colorado All-Star team. Brendan didn't receive any financial scholarships from large athletics programs, so he ended up going to Whittier College, a small private school in LA County with Division III athletics. Once again, he made the team for both sports. And once again, he was way better at lacrosse than he was at football. Brendan was named Freshman of the Year and led Whittier lacrosse to the #1 spot in the nation. He was okay at football, but the Whittier team was bad. 2 wins, 7 losses bad. Brendan got his stats though, which prompted a transfer to University of Colorado, his first shot at Division I football. Despite Brendan's undeniable success as a lacrosse player, he transferred to Boulder for football. It's hard to blame him knowing his size, around 6'4", 230 pounds at the time. but lacrosse was definitely his sport. He saw a lot of playing time in Boulder, but couldn't replicate his D3 numbers at the D1 level. Brendan never really found his role, redshirting his first year and switching around positions for the rest of his campaign at the University of Colorado. This summary of Brendan's collegiate sports career mentioned a 1-yard touchdown he scored in a quote-unquote major scrimmage. A 1-yard touchdown. In a scrimmage, this should be a good indicator of his success as a football player. Despite his shortcomings as a college football player, Brendan declared for the 2006 NFL Draft. After the 255th selection passed with no mention of his name, Brendan knew he went unselected. He signed with Utah's Arena Football League team, but unfortunately was released without ever making the roster. He bounced around a few more AFL teams before retiring from the sport altogether. I kinda wish Brendan just went back in time and became the Michael Jordan of lacrosse and just never got famous. I bet he does too, to be honest. On one hand, football didn't work out for Brendan. On the other hand, he was 6'4", 250 pounds and approaching his athletic peak. It was time for the next step.
Real shit though, you really should have just stuck it out with football. Like, stick it out with what works. But I feel him though, it's probably what works for him, but I don't know, he probably just liked football more.
Brendan's father is a second-degree Taekwondo black belt, so he was exposed to martial arts from a young age. Brendan decided to go back to his hometown of Aurora, Colorado to train in various martial arts. He started with boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a good foundation for an MMA fighter. Following his descent as a football player, Brendan was locked in on martial arts and he had big aspirations.
Damn, getting hungry.
Just 6 months after
I was already
picking up
hungry
boxing,
before stream, but it's
Brendan
starting to creep
won
up
the
on me.
Colorado Novice Division Golden Gloves heavyweight title. Now a lot of you guys are laughing. You're going, oh, it was novice. You do it. You do it. He started training with UFC heavyweight contender Shane.
I respect that though. Before y'all niggas really don't want us to talk shit in the comments, bro, it was just a novice, my nigga. I want you to go get in that ring and get punched on. See if you can walk out being a novice, whatever the fuck that means.
Harwin, who helped him transition into professional MMA.
I ain't a boxing guy, you know. Maybe my cousin Jamal would definitely be able to understand, like, you know, the words and stuff.
He started to bridge the gap between
because
striking
he loves
and grappling,
MMA. His
developing
violent
his clinch
ass
and ground game. Brendan won his first 4 professional fights, becoming the Ring of Fire heavyweight champion. He was moving through the ranks quickly, and his UFC debut was inevitable. In 2009, Brendan signed with UFC to compete on The Ultimate Fighter Season 10. He swept his competition all the way up to the finale. Brendan defeated D'Amico Rogers via submission, John Madsen via KO, and Marcus Jones via KO. It was time for the heavyweight finale. Brendan's official UFC debut. His opponent, Big Country, also known as Roy Nelson. This fight is incredible for so many reasons other than the actual fight. It took place in Las Vegas, which happens to be Nelson's hometown. Roy had home court advantage from the start, and he was hungry coming off of 2 losses. Brendan walked out to Jay-Z's Run This Town, and the crowd was less than impressed. He even started receiving boos when the lights dimmed for Nelson's intro. Big Country walked out to Michael Jackson's Bad and stole the crowd immediately. Before the fight even started, Big Country had an edge on Brendan. He's just lost back-to-back fights, he's got a home crowd, and he's facing an undefeated Brendan Schaub. After losing to Andrei Arlovski, this was essentially a rebound fight for Nelson. To add insult to injury, Joe Rogan was calling Brendan Brandon for most of the broadcast.
We saw Brandon when he got mounted by Marcus Jones.
The fight was anticipated
Is his name not Brandon?
as somewhat of a striker versus
Did I miss something? We're 6 minutes into the video. Is his name not Brandon?
grappler matchup. Schaub, fundamentally a boxer, had the height and reach advantage, while Nelson had a clear weight advantage and a background in BJJ. Despite this expectation, most of the fight occurred standing up. Brendan's supposed comfort zone. He was landing nice jabs and a few good combinations.
Is it Brandon or Brandon?
However, a few minutes into the first round, Brendan started to look a little tired. With about a minute and a half left in the first round, Mike Goldberg dropped some of the most ironic foreshadowing of all time. In response to Rogan poking fun at Nelson's weight, Goldie said, "You're funny, you should be a comedian." As soon as he said the word comedian, Nelson dropped Schaub with a huge overhand right to the temple. It's almost like Goldie hypnotized Brendan before he got knocked out. Can we just pause for a second and admire the most 2009 screenshot of all time? Of course, we've got both guys dripped out in tap-out gear. We got the Mansers and the 1,000 Ways to Die sneak peek in the corner, and we've got a banner for James Cameron's Avatar on the mat. Incredible stuff, historical stuff. Let's get back into it. With the hypnosis from Mike Goldberg, Brendan did eventually become a
1,000 Ways to Die. It's Brendan. Hold on, bro. What's this nigga's name? It's probably in the description, bro. It's Brandon. Oh, okay. Brandon.
Comedian, with the help of Joe Rogan at that. And we'll get to his comedy career, but Brendan's UFC career was just getting started. After the loss to Big Country,
This is the way how he's pronouncing it though. He's pronouncing it Brendan. It's Brendan. Okay, whatever. Fuck the name. Okay.
Brendan hit the gas. He won 4 straight fights, quickly cementing himself in the heavyweight division. He won his second UFC bout in 47 seconds with a TKO against Chase Gormley. Over the next year, he won another 3 straight, including a matchup against Mirko Cro Cop at UFC 128. Mirko was an established fighter at this point, with 38 professional matches under his belt. Brendan had only 8, but 7 came as wins. He was feeling good going into this fight, and it showed. In the 3rd round, Brendan had arguably the best knockout of his career. It's not arguable, he definitely had the best knockout of his career. Mirko was setting up a left body kick when Brendan timed a beautiful overhand right. The way Mirko ragdolled to the ground looks like something
Not really though. That nigga like he sunk into the ground.
knockout of his career. It's not arguable, he definitely had the best knockout of his career. Mirko was setting up a left body kick when Brendan timed a beautiful overhand right. The way Mirko kicked when
that's the most replayed part. Nah, bro. Nah. We need to drag this as much as possible.
It's not arguable, he definitely had the best knockout of his career. Mirko was setting up a left body kick when Brendan
God! Damn. Not gonna lie though, being an MMA fighter or a boxer or whatever, bro, man. There is some slight guts to that. You really get, because this is always a possibility that this could be you every time you step in that ring. This could possibly end up being you. You throw the wrong punch, or that nigga catch you with some... Yo, if that nigga catches you with the right punch at the right moment, it's really all about timing, bro. It's really all about luck. It's really all about destiny. Now, but for real, though, you throw the wrong punch or he manages to get a good enough punch off of you, like, this could be you, bro. And this is, like, all over social media, everything, bro.
timed a beautiful overhand right. The way Mirko ragdolled to the ground looks like something straight out of a video game. It was a convincing win for Brendan, and people were excited about his future.
What made him want to start doing
Brendan's
comedy?
win over Mirko Cro Cop in 2011 was the height of his MMA career. We'll talk about his remaining fights, but 2011 to 2014 is an important period to zoom in on. Brendan grew closer with Joe Rogan during this time in the UFC. The two quickly became friends, and Brendan was introduced to the world of comedy. He hit it off with comedian Bryan Callen, who later became his co-host on the Fighter and the Kid podcast. The show started in 2012. Brendan had just lost to Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira and Ben Rothwell in back-to-back fights. While he wasn't finding success in the ring, he found success behind the mic.
Work, 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 work.
Work, work, work.
The Fighter and the Kid podcast slowly grew as Brendan continued to fight in the UFC. After 2 tough losses via KO, Brendan got back on the horse. He won 2 straight fights against LeVar Johnson and Matt Mitrione. Ironically enough, Mitrione also had a career in professional football before transitioning to the UFC. He played for the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings. Mitrione was a solid fighter, by the way, eventually giving Fedor Emelianenko one of his 6 ever professional losses. Speaking of Fedor Emelianenko, we actually did a documentary on his brother Alexander Emelianenko. Really crazy story. Make sure you guys check out the channel if you want to watch that. Brendan was feeling himself. 2-fight win streak, up-and-coming podcast, and aspirations to become a comedian alongside
was on top
his
of the
friend
world.
Joe Rogan. It
None
was
can
only
stop
a
me
matter
now.
of time before he appeared on Joe's podcast. He was a perfect fit for the Joe Rogan experience. MMA fighter, podcast host, and aspiring comedian. Brendan's JRE debut was in April of 2014 with friend and co-host Bryan Callen. This podcast was recorded after Brendan's win against Mitrione, and Joe was clearly excited to have him on as a guest. The chemistry was good. They were getting along, and Joe was supportive of Brendan's MMA career. Honestly, everything went downhill from here. Later that year, Brendan lost to Andrei Arlovski via split decision at UFC 174. Like any split decision ending, it was debatable. Brendan felt that he should have won, so he pleaded his case on the Fighter and the Kid podcast. It was essentially 1 hour of Brendan defending his performance, with Callen piping in occasionally to sing whatever Brendan just said.
You can't judge a fight based off damage to the face. I cut very easily. I've always kept easy my entire career.
Nonetheless, the Fighter and the Kid community was very supportive, and Brendan's mind was already on his next fight. UFC 181, Brendan Schaub versus Travis Brown, Brendan's last fight. Travis Brown, by the way, just looks like an NPC, right? UFC 4 creative fighter? Come on. Brown had a clear advantage over Schaub the entire fight. On top of Brown being nearly 6'7", he looked more comfortable, more capable, and far more experienced than Schaub. Brendan lost via TKO in the first round, which inspired a media onslaught, including flack from his buddy, Joe Rogan.
Why was this fight made? Because this nigga, I mean, it seems like he was just outclassed in every single way.
TKO in the first round.
That's just what it really seemed. Why was this fight even made? Was Schnaub, my last name is Schnaub, okay. Was Schnaub really showing enough potential to warrant a Brown fight? I'm just saying, not at all. The UFC wanted to capitalize on his presence on social media and the popularity of his podcast.
Media onslaught, including flack from his buddy, Joe Rogan. Just days after the fight, Rogan joined Brian and Brendan on the Fighter and the Kid podcast, filmed and recorded in Joe's studio. After Brendan broke down his fight against Travis Brown, Joe hit him with a major reality check. This would end up being good advice, and Brendan clearly took it to heart.
I worry about your commitment to fighting, and I worry about where you stand, not your commitment to training. I think you have one foot out the door. I don't see you beating the elite guys.
He hasn't had a professional MMA fight since. Also, it's not easy getting dumped on for 5 minutes by anyone, let alone Joe Rogan, one of the biggest names in media, and a close friend of Brendan's.
I don't see you beating Cain Velasquez. I don't see you beating Junior Dos Santos. I don't see you beating Fabricio Verdum. If you had a wrestling match with Cain Velasquez, how well do you think you do?
Straight up wrestling?
Yeah.
I think people would be surprised.
Really? You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd be surprised.
As the comments on this episode point out, Brendan took this criticism very well.
I think you'd be surprised.
He listened to Joe's points, shared his perspective, and continued on with the podcast. It's not easy to sit there and be told you're approaching irrelevance, but Brendan did it graciously. Cain Velasquez is going through some trouble right now, as we all.
Oh shit. Well, that's pretty. That's pretty ironic. But yo, I'm not gonna lie. He did take it with grace though, and I give him slight respect for that. You know, I'm not trying to give him too much respect because I want to wait till I hear what made him the most hated. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully he wasn't doing no crazy shit.
All know, but Joe is right here. 2014 Cain Velasquez is putting Brendan under the mat. Following this advice from Rogan, Brendan retired from MMA and focused on podcasting. The Fighter and the Kid was produced by Fox Sports until 2016, when Brian and Brendan reached a contract dispute with the network. They were no longer under contract with Fox, so they started producing the podcast themselves. This shift gave the show new life and likely felt like a fresh start for Brendan. He built a little more distance between himself and the sports world, inching closer to the comedy world. Brian Callen inspired Brendan to start doing stand-up comedy himself. After their deal with Fox, the duo took the podcast on tour, testing out their dual stand-up comedy act. The Fighter and the Kid was growing, and Brendan was gaining experience as a comedian. In 2016, a community subreddit was formed. A subreddit for all things The Fighter and the Kid. Fans would discuss the show and post funny clips. Initially, the subreddit soon devolved into hate posts about both co-hosts, but primarily Brendan. People would clip any and every slip-up, mistake, or joke that fell flat. They were hyper-analyzing Brendan's every move, showcasing his short.
And this is the thing, though. What the fuck else do you expect from Reddit? I'm just saying. Like, bro, I'm not gonna lie. You was looking... I'm not gonna lie, bro. You was looking at the wrong comment sections, bro. Nigga, if you going on Reddit, Twitter, wherever else, or, like, you feel me? What was that other old ass shit called? Or something? Like, bro, but mainly Reddit and Twitter, bro. If you go on there to get constructive criticism about your talent or something that you are somewhat passionate about, even if you're not passionate, take your time. Speak your words. Anyways, even if you're not passionate about it, something that you want to take seriously, you think going to somewhere like Reddit or Twitter is a good idea to get some constructive criticism? Nigga, you gonna want to kill yourself right after. Like, what the fuck?
Shortcomings as a comedian.
Like, no wonder this nigga spiraled out of control trying to sue niggas and ban niggas. Like, what the fuck? Because you was looking at the wrong comment sections.
Famous example is the homeless cats incident. Brendan was discussing those that hate on successful people, claiming that their opinions don't matter, like the opinions of homeless people or cats, which is ridiculous. This incredibly ignorant comparison drew lots of attention from the subreddit. They've
homeless
crucified
people?
Brendan for saying this, and they've identified as homeless cats ever since. The homeless cats continue to post clips of Brendan saying anything remotely stupid. These clips include Brendan doubling down that Africa is a country.
People say Africa like it's a country. I do it too all the time.
Africa is a country.
And Brendan saying pronunciation as pronounce-ination. While dragging about his pronunciation, These slip-ups were soon coined as Shabisms under the greater language of Shabanese, which, by the way, has nothing to do with Stranglish. Brendan's podcast slip-ups weren't the only point of criticism from the
Alright, so they literally turned my boy into a meme. Alright.
homeless cats. As Brendan did more stand-up comedy, they laid into him for having predictable, bland, and straight-up bad jokes. Stand-up was Brendan's strength in the ring, but definitely not behind a microphone. He didn't release his first special until 2019. It was clearly something he wanted to take his time on. In the meantime, he did commentary for the Mayweather vs. McGregor match and worked as a correspondent for Entertainment News. He was a co-host for various award aftershows, including the Golden Globes, Oscars, Emmys, and People's Choice Awards. I'm curious how he got stuck co-hosting award shows after shows. That's just such a random role.
I think you'd be surprised.
The day has finally come. May 17th, 2019. Brendan's first comedy special, You'd Be Surprised, was released through Showtime. The special was named after Joe Rogan's thoughts on a wrestling match between Brendan and Cain Velasquez.
I think you'd be surprised.
Brendan had been doing comedy for 5 or 6 years now, and his hour-long debut was highly anticipated. To say it flopped would be an understatement. You'd Be Surprised received 1.5 out of 10 stars on
1.5 out
IMDb,
of 10
the worst
is
rating
wild.
of any stand-up special listed on the platform.
Was it
ever.
really
The
that
reviews were
bad?
relentless, and the homeless cats.
I'm trying
had
to play
a field
devil's
day.
advocate
Comments like,
here.
Everyone laughed when Brendan said he would be a comedian. No one's laughing now. Time for Rogan to give Brendan another talk. He's living proof that you can do anything if you know the right people. Multiple YouTubers released videos destroying You'd Be Surprised, including Brendan Schaub's You'd Be Surprised is the worst comedy special I've ever seen, uploaded by Beige Frequency. He was being called the first ever CTE comic. People weren't holding back on Brendan.
Okay, CTE comic is fucking wild. Oh my god. Imagine Antonio Brown doing stand-up comedy. Yo, this nigga would just get up there and say anything, bro. He probably just I'm not gonna lie. Antonio Brown he would be the kind of nigga to just turn around and just pull his ass out. For no reason. On a stand-up stage. But still though, CTE comedy, that is a hilarious category.
Especially the homeless cats. You'd Be Surprised is the origin of Brendan's mediocre catchphrase, dicey, dicey, a Shabanism that's still in heavy rotation to this day.
Dicey, dicey.
It's a perfect catchphrase for Brendan. Many aspects of his career have been dicey, and they only got dicier from here.
Let's take the elephant out of the room. I've always loved you.
Yeah.
I've always loved you, but I love stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So I'm caught in one day I'm going through Facebook, and I see that Brendan Schaub's doing stand-up at the store, and I go, no. I go, why is he doing this? I don't want him, in my heart, I'm like, I avoided you.
Since the
I
release
avoided
of You'd
you.
Be Surprised, Brendan hasn't stopped receiving vitriol online. To this day, we've seen Brendan take criticism graciously before. In his 2014 interview with Joe Rogan, it was hard to hear, but Brendan heeded the advice. While Rogan's advice was polite compared to online critiques of You'd Be Surprised, Brendan had vastly different reactions between the two. He started abusing YouTube's copyright system, striking any and all videos that spoke negatively of the special. He was trying to scrub the internet of negative opinions. In the same vein, he developed a partnership with Pure Spectrum CBD, where customers received 50% off if they left a kind review of You'd Be Surprised. People didn't leave kind reviews.
MMA career was funnier.
He was
This
in
nigga said
full
you-
damage control mode.
Nigga said you could get a coupon for 50% off if you leave good comments. Like, come on, bro. Now you're just fishing for negativity.
Instead of considering constructive criticism and blocking out the blind hatred, Brendan tried to erase all of it. This did nothing but stoke the flame, as the homeless
That's what I'm saying, because the more that you show that you give a fuck about what these people are saying about you, especially the negative shit, the more they get negative, the more negative they become. It doesn't stop. It actually picks up speed, nigga. You're fanning the flame. You're pouring gasoline on a fire right now. That's literally what you're doing.
cats now knew how much Brendan was affected by online shit-talking. The Fighter and the Kid subreddit continued to tear him apart. In the rubble of You'd Be Surprised, Showtime let Brendan go. They didn't explicitly say why, but I think we can all put 2 and 2 together. The special was historically bad, and Brendan's online presence revolved around negativity. Brendan's separation from Showtime was similar to the
And there's the thing. I guess you could say it wasn't his fault necessarily why everything went downhill, but it's like he just handled it horribly. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you get all these negative comments on social media and stuff like that, you need to just look these niggas dead in the eye and just tell them, yo, suck a dick. Like, what the fuck? Suck a fat one. A fat one. Because at the end of the day, bro, like, bro, people, like, bro, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You can't win with people on social media. So that's why you just do whatever the fuck you want to do, bro. Fuck what they think. You feel me? The people that actually support your shit, they're gonna fuck with you. Like, bro, that's what I'm saying. He went to go find constructive criticism in the wrong comment section. Why the fuck are you on Reddit?
The Fighter and the Kid's separation from Fox Sports. It was a clean slate, a fresh start, and an opportunity to produce his own content. In 2021, Brendan started Thick Boy Network. Yes, thick, with 3 C's.
All right.
Brendan's content was still mediocre, but now it was also underfunded. In 2022, Brendan put out his second stand-up comedy special, this time under Thick Boy Network, The Gringo Poppy. But we'll get to that in a second. In late 2021, a video of Brendan was leaked to the public. It was a wide-angle view of a pool party, attended by various media and sports personalities. Brendan is seen handing a piece of paper thought to be his phone number to a woman. Brendan had been married for a number of years at this point and also had children. The prospect of him hitting on a girl.
Damn. And his wife is... Damn, his wife look good too. Aw, she's pretty. Damn. She's pretty too. Why? And you got kids, bro. And you got kids. Damn, bro. Shaking my head at that. Like, I'm not the kind of guy who would really bash another nigga for cheating. But if you're married, especially with children, you're definitely going to get judgment from me. Like, let me clear one thing up. I'm not that kind of friend that will judge you for cheating. If you're in a normal girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, okay, do what you do. You a man at the end of the day. I'm not saying being a man is relative to just cheating. I'm not saying that. But all I'm saying is, like, bro, you make mistakes or you do what you want to do. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is you're not getting any type of judgment from me. Hold on, let me... Like, I want to turn this down. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, you're not going to get any kind of judgment from me. But if you married, and on top of that, like, you got kids, but if you married, I'm about to be like, all right, bro, you had vows. You feel me? Like, you basically made a promise that you was going to honor and protect this marriage. And on top of that, you ended up having kids. It's like, man, at that point, if you got kids, I'm going to look at you like, bro, you're fucking up. You're bugging. You're bugging the fuck out. You got kids, bro. Because now at that point, you have to set an example for your kids. You a father, bro. Like, you feel me? You a father now. You know what I mean? Like, and a husband. It's like, yo, bro, at that point, you will get criticism from me. I will judge the fuck out of you. It just depends on the circumstances.
Had been married for a number of years at this point and
That's
also
fucked
had
up,
children.
Damn.
The prospect of him hitting on a girl at a party got the attention of everyone online, especially the homeless cats
She's
and
really
his wife
pretty,
probably.
bro.
But let's be honest, this isn't that bad on its own. It could be a misread of the video. Maybe it wasn't his phone number. Maybe the woman was a friend of his. Maybe this whole thing was a misunderstanding. He still had the benefit of the doubt. But Brendan figured that explaining himself would be too easy. How can I make myself look as guilty as possible while still throwing someone else under the bus, thought Brendan. He came up with just a plan. He struck not only the video, but the uploader uniqueness' channel. On top of that, Brendan filed a lawsuit against a small YouTuber, cementing in people's minds that the video was what they thought it was.
Oh my God.
Okay,
But now even if it wasn't what it was, now everybody on social media, that's exactly what they thinking it was now. Didn't I tell you, bro? You're pouring gasoline on the fan. I mean, on the fire.
we can get back to Brendan's second stand-up special, The Gringo Poppy. It was bad. 1.1 out of 10 stars bad. Worse than you'd be surprised, and worse than any other stand-up special on IMDb.
Doesn't gringo mean white nigga? Or wait, isn't gringo like a slur that Hispanics would use towards white people?
Ever. This special was only 30 minutes compared to the hour runtime of his first effort. Brendan made a point to not overstay his welcome, but his effort made no difference. As you can imagine, the online abuse continued, and so did Brendan's attempts to suppress it. He continued to strike hate videos, and each attempt documented by the Fighter and the Kid subreddit. They saw what Brendan was trying to do, and they didn't like it. His tirade of suppression continued when he was called out on the Trash Tuesday podcast for asking one of the hosts, Annie Letterman, to walk him to his truck.
That was like, why don't you walk me to my truck, this married guy, where I'm like, and we know him, I'm not gonna say who it is, but he's like,
know him.
why don't you give me a walk, you should walk me to my truck. I'm like,
Again, Brendan is a married man, and this allegation caught the attention of the homeless cats. However, Brendan completely denied Annie's claims, which started an avalanche of drama, finger-pointing, and lies. A number of channels have exhausted this saga, so I'll give a quick synopsis. Trash Tuesday has 3 hosts, Annie Letterman, Esther Pavitsky, and Bobby Lee's girlfriend at the time, Kalila Kuhn. Annie claimed that Brendan asked her to walk him to his truck, insinuating that Brendan was hitting on her. He denied the claim entirely and demanded that the Trash Tuesday podcast clear his name. He communicated only with Bobby at first, asking him if he had, quote, fixed the Kalila shit yet. He went so far as to blackmail Kalila, threatening to release sensitive information about her and Bobby Lee's relationship. Bobby was, of course, uncooperative with Brendan, as he was literally threatening his girlfriend at the time. Brendan then threatened to release 300 pages of evidence, suggesting that Bobby was the mastermind behind the Fighter and the Kid subreddit. This was, of course, untrue, and those 300 pages were never released. Brendan went on Bobby and Kalila's podcast, Tiger Belly, to try to clear the air, but he was unsuccessful.
I don't talk like that. I would never call Kalila that. That's not in my
Brendan,
privilege.
you called me that on the phone call we had.
As Dan Soder put it, Kalila stuffed him like a turkey, poking holes in his story and showcasing his lies. Now, with that being said, I don't think Kalila is a great person. I think she showed her true colors in that
I don't think she's a great person either. Yeah, I'm like, best believe that.
podcast, and it wasn't colors that I liked. So let me just say that I'm not necessarily on Brendan's side, but Kalila, sketchy.
You know better neither.
Sketchy. If all that was very confusing, it's because the whole thing is stupid. Instead of owning up to his mistakes or clarifying his side of the story, Brendan tried to sweep the entire situation under the rug. He made threats and hurled accusations at innocent people. Rather than talking to Annie, Kalila, and Esther directly, he tried to get Bobby to do his dirty work. It seemed as though Brendan assumed that Bobby would have his back because they're both comedians. But obviously, Bobby wanted no part of the situation.
Like,
Brendan had
nigga,
further
bro, that shit got nothing to do with me, bro. Like, what the fuck? Why you gonna drag me down with you? Don't do that.
alienated himself from the comedy scene, a community he worked hard to be a part of. The Fighter and the Kid lives on, but the subreddit seems to have died down. People are getting tired of Brendan's lack of accountability. Hating on Brendan has become less of a meme and more of a justified cause. The backlash Brendan received following You'd Be Surprised may have been over the top and unwarranted, but it was coming from a place of humor. The backlash regarding his recent drama is coming from a place of fairness. Brendan's denial of Annie's claims opened an endless can of worms that he's still trying to clean up. Time will tell how the rest of his career plays out, but Brendan has a lot of apologies to make before he can move forward. He can't keep doubling down on his lies forever. Brendan has been estranged from the comedy world. He's too old for professional MMA at this point, and his football days passed him at the age of 19. It's impossible to deny that Brendan is a hardworking, talented individual. His lack of accountability, however, has been and will continue to be his Achilles heel.
God damn, bro. Jesus, you a grown ass man basically trying to get another man to do your the dirty work. That is crazy, bro. Well, that was Brandon. Shit. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, show support, you know what I'm saying? Do your job. All right.